So we'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So prepare yourself for different kind of assignments. These are the topics that we'll be covering now. Descriptive statistics, which is very important. That is the beginning of the first phase of analysis. As you know, we have basically two types of statistics, broadly speaking, descriptive and analytic statistics. Descriptive answers the question what usually, just grossly. Analytic statistics answer usually the question why. And for us to understand the real issues, we need to get the answer on what, why, when, who, all those details should be answered. So this is how we'll do analysis. Cascade analysis, also here in the topic, will be covered by Nino, and we will be doing that tomorrow. And visualize the appropriate charts. This is part of analysis, but Bridget will cover the visualization part and how to identify gaps and areas for improvement. So, analysis. We have different ways of understanding what analysis is. It simply means turning raw data. You have data, so much data in TB. Since we have discussed yesterday, in the early 90s, where TB was introduced. By the way, TB was one of the programs to introduce this uniform standard way of capturing data. Of course, everybody talks a lot about their own program. If you talk about family planning, colleagues, no, family planning was ahead of that. Malaria, no, malaria is better. Let's not bring that fight into this room, but for me, I can speak. It was one of the strategies since early 90s. So the fifth component, the one we discussed yesterday, standardized recording reporting system, was acknowledged long time ago. At least I can definitely speak. HIV learned a lot from TB because that's a literally new program. But malaria, family planning have been with us forever, so it's good. Yeah. So in any case, it's all about turning raw data into information useful for action. So at least the main question we are answering is, we have a health program to manage. Yesterday, this morning, we discussed about setting targets, smart objectives, like that. So the question is, how to get answers to programmatic questions. So many questions to answer. And for that, we need data. That data should be translated to information. I think let's start by brainstorming now. By the way, Bridget, source energizers, when are they coming? Huh? We need them now. Let's start with one energizer now, maybe. Yes.
Okay, Ezra's asking for an energizer. So everybody has to stand up. So this energizer is quick, but it actually addresses all the muscles in your body. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 repetitions of this, where you sit back like a chair 10 times, okay? And then 10 of this. Okay. 10 times. And then 10. Okay. And then 10. Okay, so you do I'll do it with you. We'll do 10 of these and then 10 of these. Not wimpy. You have to really like be strong. Okay. And then 10 of these, like 90-degree angle. Okay. And then 10 of these, like you're in a restaurant, a waiter. Okay. And we're going to do two sets. 2 sets. Okay. You're supposed to do 3, but we've got data analysis to do. So we'll do 2 sets. Okay. 1 second. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Seven, 8, 9.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, it's very good to have this kind of energizer. I will try to have one of them at least every day around this time. Okay, so the analysis, which is an interesting topic, but one thing about analysis is not something new. You have been doing it on daily basis, on a regular basis. Before we go to the detail, I want to start, let's brainstorm around analysis. What kind of analysis you do commonly in your program? Share your experience. Let's start from there. And because the purpose of this training is training of trainers, you are going to go back and conduct training. Obviously, you are not learning everything new. You know it, most of it. But the purpose is to improve the quality of knowledge, the depth, the scope, so that when you deliver training, you do it the best way possible. And for that, it's not only learning from the facilitators, but learning from our own experience is very important. So let's start from you. What kind of analysis do you do normally? Voluntary, which one? You can, yeah, Ukraine, you are ready. Go ahead.
Рутинные квартальные анализы, те, которые We do routine quarterly analysis.
Эффективности лечения, промежуточных результатов.
So we work on this treatment, things that are the same for every country, and also we actively use clinical data.
Клинического анализа, допустим,
And does she speak in the microphone because I hear her from afar?
Эффективности внедрения.
We look at the analysis of effectiveness of implementation of contemporary peroral treatments. Yeah, now I hear her better. Thank you. Test.
Мультирезистентного туберкулеза.
Yeah, like intervals or periods for treatment periods, etc. So the registry gives us an opportunity to segregate data and it allows to permanently observe and monitor components of clinical efficacy. So when we see that we do not achieve targets on quarterly analysis, and we try to find the reasons, we analyze schemes, dosages, the periods of treatments or the terms of treatment. There are the analysis that we do in the framework of the Global Fund grant. Of course, it has its monitoring, goals and objectives of the project, and we do interim checks. And this is what we do most frequently.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a typical analysis. So Armenia, before you answer, since she has already shared a lot of experience, that type of analysis, for you, you can add your point plus tell us what kind of tool to use for your analysis. Go ahead.
Да. Сравнительный анализ еще делается в Армении.
We do comparative analysis. Comparative analysis, this is what we do in addition, where we compare all the data we have.
What do you compare in the comparative analysis? Comparing what with what? Just tell us.
Сравнительный анализ делается или сравнивая.
Well, we either compare current data with the previous data, with the historical data, or we can take some periods of time and we compare those times, say the quarter of the previous year and the quarter of this year or something like that. So we look at this comparative analysis data to see what are the trends. So we may compare, I don't know, data for the last 4 years or 5 years, or the same period of this year and the previous years, etc.
Very good. So comparative analysis, mainly looking at the time dimension, quarter by quarter, or the same period last year, the previous year, trend analysis. Wonderful. Somebody from Armenia again? You want to go? By the way, it's good to know each other by name. We're always. You are Nera? Are you Nera?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Now the name is coming.
I also want to add that currently we are implementing projects like we are giving incentives to doctors for detection of cases, for successfully treated cases, and we want to analyze how these incentives contributed to increase the number of detected cases. But so far we don't have much time passed. We want to have some 3-year data to have this analysis. And also we have social support in the framework of a Global Fund grant for TB patients to support adherence to treatment. So we have databases of patients, and we can analyze on quarterly basis what percent of patients have adherence, 90 and more %.
Thank you very much. So you set some targets for different groups, for different clinicians. You analyze how much you are progressing towards those targets. Wonderful. So Georgia, Moldova, you can focus on what kind of, maybe let's do Georgia and no, Moldova, I will come back. What kind of analytic tools do you use? The content we have heard from Armenia and Ukraine. For you, tell us what kind of methodology or what kind of tools do you use to conduct analysis?
Ну, обычно есть для как
So
мы используем часто триангуляцию данных из разных.
we usually use the triangulation of data from different sources. This is programmatic and research data, or it can be from the National Statistics Database,
здравоохранения и
from the public healthcare, or maybe the data collected by different NGOs in the same area. As to instruments, we use this, if I had it correctly, species for processing data where they are collected mostly. The most representative data is the audit of TB HIV infection, where the data is collected from the TB as well as HIV. From the database, we get data on mortality, and then we do the cross analysis of those data in the software that helps us to get the trends and to look at the evolution of this data, for instance.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very good experience. You focus mainly on the data sources. That's fine. Maybe also the type of analysis. Do you use paper-based? Do you use any software, any program like that? As I can speak, or Georgia can focus on that. You want to say something, or let's make it participatory? The Georgia colleagues, what kind of tools do you use your analysis? Anyone from Georgia? Since we have so many colleagues from Georgia, there are so many people who have the capacity to answer, and I see the confusion. So how do you do it? Because we have already seen there's a lot of sophisticated things, but the basics, the routine, not only at national level, think an average experience, even any regular TB expert, what kind of methodology? Yeah, proceed, yeah.
So we do not have any institutional a structured software to use on a institution wide, but as in a research unit, we usually use R mostly or SPSS depending on the availability. Sometimes we have access to licensed software like SaaS based, if only it's not institution based, it's individuals that have access to the software sometimes, but mostly it's R because it's free, or SaaS or SPSS depending on the availability and knowledge of the respective personnel.
Very good. I think those are very much advanced softwares, mainly for research purpose. For routine programmatic data, what about Excel? I hope you know it. That's too basic. That's why I didn't mention it. I think Excel is a basic tool which everybody is using on daily basis. By the way, when we did this kind of training in the other countries, Excel was one of the topic that was discussed, usually for half a day or something, because of the need. But when we decided to do it here in Eastern Europe, we excluded Excel from the agenda because based on our assessment, Excel is well known in most of the countries, so we don't need to spend that much time talking about the basics of Excel. So I'm sure that's why I don't mention it, but typically in many TV programs, Excel is a common tool, sometimes maybe some specific homegrown tools. As you can see in this slide, even paper-based, look at what we saw from this Jon Snow. The first time he did it by paper. Paper, like even flip chart, they have their own advantage for quick analysis sometimes, but software is making life very easy these days. So when we think of analysis, usually most of us think very sophisticated tools. It's good. If you have it, fine. But at least we can start by using what we have at hand already. Everybody has a laptop. Everybody has a basic software. Data comes routinely, especially the new TB electronic systems like ATB Manager, OpenMRS, also 𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗄. They already have inbuilt analytic tools. You select, they do automatic analysis using GIS and different ways of presenting data. So that's how we do analysis. We have different options. As long as we acknowledge the importance of analysis and we have a key programmatic question to answer, the choice is very wide. We have different ways. So at the end of the day, what do we do by analysis? We try to answer basic programmatic questions like this. So in the analysis process, we try to compare program targets with actual performance. We have already a target set, preferably, and at least it's recommended to have a smart way of setting targets. Then through analysis, we'll try to assess how far we are getting closer to our targets. This concept of the M and E aspect of M&E comes in that part of analysis, monitoring, tracking the progress, evaluation, especially when we reach the final point to look back where we came from, how far we have improved, and what was the learning along the way. So whether we have achieved our target or not, what does it mean? If you achieve, what is the implication? If you don't achieve our target, why? It is endless. Analysis is an endless process. For every step of the way, you ask why it continues. So tomorrow, with Nino, we will discuss about cascade analysis, which is the first part. Cascade analysis will answer some questions, but not all. Then the next step is to conduct root cause analysis. Even that is not answering everything. We'll go to research. Research is one component of the NTB strategy. So this analysis is as long as we need it until we answer so many programmatic questions. So in this training, we just discuss the basics of analysis and to encourage all participants to pay attention to this basic programmatic skill, which we need for TV program management. Maybe just let me put one question. Who is responsible for conducting analysis for TB programming from TB program point of view? Whose responsibility is to conduct analysis? Let's share it. Who is responsible to conduct data analysis in TB. Is my question clear? Whose responsibility is? Any is a translation? Okay. Who's okay.
Ну, в основном это сотрудники национальной программы.
Mainly, this is the staff of the national program. In our country, it is the monitoring and evaluation unit and the
Tuberculosis program.
director of the national TB program.
Thank you. Okay. Who else? Anybody else?
На районном уровне
Yeah? Okay.
анализ вот этот рутинный,
So
ежеквартальный.
it's routine quarterly analysis is done by doctors, physiatrists at the regional level. These are units of monitoring and evaluation under the
Учреждениях,
under
которые
the regional TB institutions, which collect district reports. They verify them, they compile them and analyze them, and then that data goes to the national level, where they do have some technical or programmatic units and the units for monitoring and evaluation, which collects and verifies data, and then the results are transferred to the technical unit. So in fact, we get the results about successes and failures, and based on that, we of course develop further action plans for elimination of gaps or effects. But all in all,
работала, ну, наверное, в какой-то мере тоже
organizing everything, making sure that it works. It's probably the director of the national TB program who coordinates this process in its entirety, and then this data is transferred further to the Ministry of Healthcare.
Thank you. I saw a hand over there. Georgia, you want to say something?
Hello again. I'm Georgia National TB Program Database Manager. I'm responsible to make analyze countrywide. It was a previous question. We are using SQL to make analyze. We are creating codes, and it's easy for us to get the information which we need. Yes.
Very good. So you have so many tools. Now we heard about so many advanced tools, SQL, spaces, name it, EP data, which is common in many places. What is the other? Yes, EP data, EP info, many of them in the market. So analysis, to summarize, it depends on what kind of analysis we do. The basic analysis, just looking at the trend, should start from the data source itself. Somebody, TB coordinator sitting in the health facility, they are sitting on the data, isn't it? They collect the data. As much they are responsible to collect and report, they can also do some basic analysis because they have a responsibility to say target, to track. The more you go up in the ladder, you guys at national level, you can do all kind of sophisticated analysis. And for that, I agree with you. There are specific units, M&A units, epidemiologists, statistician. They can do all kind of advanced analysis. But overall, as a collective responsibility, analysis is expected to happen at every level of the health system. The degree of complexity and the kind of analysis depends on the kind of programmatic question you want to answer. So that's, I think, the key message I want you to take home. So descriptive analysis is a common way of analysis, to be honest. Although we like analytic statistics, as much we rely on programmatic data, we have a cross-sectional data collected through routine program. The maximum usually you can do is descriptive analysis. Of course, you can do some analytic statistics to some extent, but primarily descriptive. This descriptive statistics answers the question why, what, not why. In order to do analytic statistics, we need more information. And that ideally comes from where? From research, be it cohort research, case control, experimental, name it. Those kind of advanced research will give us detailed answer about answering the question why. But at least as a program people, we can answer many of the programmatic questions from the descriptive analysis. So these are the key terminologies. I know this is very much high school mathematics or statistics, but the high school mathematics where we came through, we passed many years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, still applies. Huh? We have to go back to the basics to understand about the complexity. Before we talk about the complex concept, it is always good to go back and reinforce and refresh our understanding of these basic elements of statistics. Before I go to the next slide, I want to start from you. Let's reinforce, all of us take how many tables we have now. So just pick one of these statistical terms and each of you to exercise. One, define or create a formula for each of these components. Second, you go back to the 10 core indicators of PBMF we looked at this morning and identify an indicator that can be measured by that particular statistical term. So Alexander, any Russian speaker, I need to make sure that everybody gets this assignment clear. From this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pick one. For example, Moldova, pick one of them as a ratio. Is the Russian translation exact clear or any confusion in the terminology? Clear. The first one is ratio. The first one is ratio. Huh? There is no confusion. I think since there was. So now you know. So let's be together now. Analysis is very interesting topic. We can discuss this topic the whole day. Since you don't have time now, you know, you pick one, only one, and you go back to the PBMF 10 core indicators. Any indicator that can be measured by one of them. For example, if Moldova picks ratio, you go back to the list of TB indicators. Which of the TB indicators is reported in terms of ratio? Huh? So first you define ratio, what the ratio is, the formula for ratio. Second, bring an example from TB that is measured in terms of ratio. So we give you 5 minutes to do that. We leave it open, or maybe shall we give one each, or you want to make your own choice? Just to make sure that all of them are covered. Moldova, which one do you pick from this? Rate. Armenia, percentage. Ukraine?
we discussed.
Which one?
For example,
You want to take one?
percent of treatment effectiveness.
Yeah, no, don't answer it. Now, from this list, which one to take?
Okay, percent.
No, percent already, Armenia. Just take something else.
Second, dollar.
Proportion.
Proportion, yeah.
That table of Georgia. Trend, is there a trend? Yes, trend. The other Georgia. No, that's facilitation team. Okay. Okay. 5 minutes. First, define that one. And how do you calculate? Use X and Y. If you express in terms of X and Y, what is the formula of that particular statistical term? Then pick one TB indicator that's measured using that statistical term. 5 minutes, the timer. So you have 2 minutes. One minute. We have a special kind of watch that runs very fast here. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2, 0. Huh? Ready? So let's start from, shall I follow this sequence? Maybe just let's follow this one. Is there anyone who selected ratio? Any group that select ratio? No? So let's do ratio together. What is the formula for ratio in terms of X and Y? The formula for ratio is X divided by Y. Just you can use the same pattern to describe the others. X divided by, the typical feature is the numerator and the denominator, they are different. So give me any example, any TB indicator that we measure in terms of ratio. Any common TB indicator.
Ratio of male and female TB cases.
Very good. Sex ratio. Thank you. This is typical example. Usually you do sex ratio both for DS and DRTB. If I ask you the sex ratio in many of your countries, you can easily tell me how much TB is. So TB, is it mainly a disease of the men or women? I mean, in terms of ratio, dominantly men. A lot of science behind it, we'll not discuss, but usually sex ratio is men higher than females. That is a trend. Okay. Proportion, what is the, who took the proportion? Was it Armenia? Ukraine. Ukraine, okay. What is the formula for proportion? In terms of this, that's only Ukraine now. We'll come to you. Ukraine, what is the formula for proportion in terms of X and Y? So if you use X and Y, so X divided by X plus Y, because the difference is the numerator is part of the denominator. Is there any, can you give any example that's expressed? Yeah, okay.
For example, proportion of TB financing from domestic sources, or for example, proportion of childhood TB among all TB cases.
So this is a very good example, pediatric child notification, especially age. Actually, that can also be ratio. Adult to child can also express in terms of ratio. So proportion is also a common way of expressing some TB indicators. Okay, percentage, who took percentage?
Took.
Armenia?
Yeah, we took the
percentage. What is the formula of percentage?
X
X.
X over Y.
X over Y.
Multiplied by 100.
So X divided by X plus Y, proportion, multiplied by 100. Okay, give me example.
Examples could be, for example, TB treatment coverage. The numerator is number of people enrolled on TB treatment, and the denominator is estimated number of TB cases detected. Contact investigation coverage or PPT coverage.
Many of TB indicators, majority of TB indicator come here. So I know, you're right. Typical perfect example is TB treatment coverage. So many of them. Okay, rate. What is the formula for rate? Actually, rate is a little bit tricky. Rate, it can be any of them, but mainly it's the time dimension, the time dimension. You can say per quarter, per year, the same thing. For example, you said TB treatment coverage rates, usually, because that is rate by year, usually calculated annually, but it can also be more frequent. Okay, what is the formula
Sorry,
for?
I have a question here. What
Who-
about the rate of something compared to 100,000 of population? Isn't it a rate?
TB notification rate?
Yeah. for
Yes,
example.
correct.
Yeah.
The same logic, because what is the difference? The difference is TB treatment coverage is calculating notified among estimated, but the other one is calculating notified per 100,000 population among the total population, but expressed in terms of 100,000. It is the same rate exactly. The difference is in the denominator, the way you present it. The numerator remains the same. Okay. Moldova, which one do you take? Already you're sorry, you are lucky. She answered it for you. Okay. Mean. What is the formula for mean? I think you have the simpler one for you now. So just to use the same logic, x plus y divided by 2. Just assuming that you have two variables. If you have many, it's all the same. So the simplest way is summation of n, usually we call it n values, divided by n, just statistically speaking. Okay, median. The middle value, median usually x plus y, maybe plus z. Usually you take the middle value x, but if it is even number, you take the middle 2 divided by 2, just to get. Okay, Georgia talk about trend. Georgia, you can explain about trend.
Yeah, trend in our case, for example, if we are interested in frequency of TB by years, for example, last year is X and previous year Y. We are dividing X by Y and multiplying 100.
By time factor, exactly. Because trend is about time. Basically, one key logic I usually is very easy, going back to my basics of epidemiology in high school. If you follow PT approach, you disaggregate data by person, which is age, usually age and sex, by place, which is geographic area, T is by time. So trend is disaggregation by time, as simple as that. You can disaggregate by quarter, months, whatever data you have. So this is,
Ezra?
Yes.
Quick question.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say when it comes to TB indicators, the ones that say proportion are really asking for percentage?
By the way, that is a very good question. And typically we usually express in terms of percentage for convenience, but practically they mean the same. You can.
Well, because
describe-
usually, so when you write indicators
Yes.
and you mean percentage, I encourage people to write percentage because usually proportion is like an estimation, right?
Decimals.
What proportion of people in this room are Georgian? You know, about a third, let's say.
Yeah.
But what percentage of people in this room are Georgian?
30%.
Maybe 32%. You're looking
just-
for an exact number. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. With indicators, if you're actually looking for an exact number, then you should just word it as percentage.
been articulated as proportion of people living with HIV with something, but the measure is percent. Instead of like actually.
Yeah. So two are usually, yes, trends, basically proportion is more of decimal expression, percentage. So there is a tendency usually to use percentage, but you're right. That's way of the expression is very good. So this is what you call analysis. Basically, I can't even stop here, but for sake of completion, let's move. So as long as we have clear understanding of this concept, I think the rest is very much similar thing. A lot of exercise about the mean and the median. I wish we have 1 more hour and you do this exercise and present it in terms of mean, median, so that, because analysis is not only describing the numbers. The most important part of analysis is the interpretation. What does it mean? For example, we mentioned about sex ratio. Why TB, why you have TB? It doesn't answer it directly, but it leads to the more thinking, more critical thinking to the next level. So interpreting the numbers give you some value, of course, but interpreting that number is the most important step. As Armenia said, you compared similar period last year with this period. Why you have more cases this quarter compared to the same quarter last year? You might not have the answer, but just critical thinking is the beginning of the analysis. That is the beginning of the journey. So that's why we encourage this analysis. The purpose of this training, to improve data collection, quality of data, to conduct analysis, and at the end of the day, to use that data. In order to use it, we have to answer these kind of basic questions. These kind of specific notes, mean and median, are measures of central tendency, as you know. When you have very much diverse data sets, mean is sensitive to that kind of extreme values. Median is less sensitive. So it's up to us, up to the program managers to decide whether mean or median is the best way of measuring central tendency. We have some examples. We leave it to you in the evening when you have time. Go through this. Any questions? We are flexible in terms of time to go back and forth. Tomorrow, if you have any issue, we can bring some of your questions as part of cascade analysis. Let me finish this slide quickly. So we have a lot of examples for median and mean, which is a common analysis we do in many of the different levels. Trend analysis is typical pattern, which you can express in terms of time, that Bridget will explain in detail the value of trend analysis. What does it mean when it goes up and goes down? For some indicators, we expect things to go up, for some to go down. I want to emphasize on this particular ways of presenting trend here. From this list, options of projections usually exponential, linear, logarithmic, polynomial, power. These are basic statistics, but very much helpful to understand TB data. For example, exponential, you start a program in rapid increments in some indicators. Can you think of any example? Is it common to have that kind of rapid increment in TB? Look at this graph, the exponential pattern. What kind of TB programmatic events can follow that trend, that pattern? Think of something. For example, case notification, does it go that way, this kind of rapid increment? Nina?
Of samples tested for using GeneXpert in line with the rollout of the GeneXpert implementation, for instance.
Exactly. As process indicator, it can go like that. As outcome indicator, even by rapid increment of samples, by rapid introduction of GeneXpert, even notification can also increase rapidly because the same logic. Linear is a very common way of forecasting target setting. Usually it's very easy, and Excel can easily do this kind of thing. Logarithmic is also a possibility, especially when introducing a new program, when you have backlog, especially drug resistance TB some years ago. There was an option for treatment. Countries introduced PMDT because of that, because of the backlog. Undiagnosed cases staying in the community for many years. Rapid increment in notification, but once you reach some level of maturity, the rate will come to kind of stabilize. This is also one pattern. This polynomial is not very common, but it's not impossible, especially with new technologies. So it's good to understand this kind of projections